All right. It's a new episode in depth with Dela. And today we're gonna talk about a subject that, a lot of people talk about, but they never act on. So I got two brothers with me and they're gonna talk about mental health, also with your wellness, and we're gonna talk about mentoring the young. So y'all two brothers can introduce yourselves.
Yes, sir.
This is your life coaching hero, James D'Antignac.
I'm Aaron Wells.
Okay, so speaking of mental health and mental wellness, how y'all guys work, in this field of helping out with mental health to others and yourself?
Well, for me, I've been working in the field for a while, wearing different hats, as a pastor, as a certified peer support specialist, degree in psychology, pastoral counseling, Christian counseling. But more than anything else, just dealing with it myself.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Just dealing with it myself and understanding more growing up and learning more and realizing when you connect the dots, oh man, that was me.
Yeah.
That was me. That was my environment. That was the people that I've been with my whole life. So I have those credentials and experience and resume, but I also have that lived experience to say, yep, when I look in the mirror, that was me.
So not only do you teach it, you done lived it before.
Absolutely.
James.
Well, I'm just now going through the whole mental health stage, I've held a lot of jobs, wore a lot of hats that, basic trainer would tell you how to deal with a person who's mentally ill or who's going through depression. But being a person who actually, I'm actually going through the depression stage, it's kind of hard to be the point person, this is how you do it, because everybody deal with it certain differently.
Okay. So will you use a coach?
Yeah.
Can we get more in detail about that?
Well, since the pandemic, I'm a person who takes advantage of free trainings, paid trainings, or whatsoever, just basically moving forward with my time. And with my experiences, I feel like it was about time to really put some credentials on my skill set. I've always been a great mentor to the youth and parents. I'm great in fatherhood advocacy. Yeah. And in my skill set is really basically talking to people, trying to figure out the how and the why. People these days, they don't ask typical questions anymore, try to figure out how you're doing or why is this going on. So I've pretty much been attracted to that, minus the fact that I've gone through a lot of stuff personally. Yeah. So it also ties in with breaking that generational curse as well. Yes. I don't want a lot of people to go through what I've been through. So if I have the passion, if I have the skill set, I try to I try to help out.
And you yourself, you got a wellness?
Yeah, I have a LLC, and it's designed for wellness, for people to build wellness, build recovery, to introduce healing. Oftentimes when we look at life's traumas, we'll address them, but we won't go through and build the healing that needs to be connected, right, for people to live through those. And so whether it's through coaching, right, or whether it's through mentoring, it's designed to, and for organizations, to understand how to best impact whatever arena or field that they're in, how to best help serve population and help people to live through and heal through their life traumas. And most of that is conducive to what they've dealt with emotionally.
So what are some issues y'all seeing right now with young and old? Because I know y'all just don't, I know, because we work together. I know we talk to young, but I know there's some older that y'all also help and motivate and mentor. And, what are some common trends and topics y'all are addressing right now?
I have this picture that I keep in my house. And it's it's a dark picture, it's black and white. And it's of these youth. It's like 13 of them, and they have no expression at all. And the reason I keep that picture is because when I work with adults, it's at that age that the damage was done. It was that at that age where the rejection happened, the detachment happened, where the trauma began, you know. And so the same thing you see in adults, all you're seeing is what you see in youth, more mature.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of depression, anxiety, mood swings. And then how can you not? Because we live in this 24-hour a day, 7-day-a-week world where now I'm 63. I remember when it was just 3 stations and TV went off at least by 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Now it's 24/7.
Yeah.
And so you look on your news thread and you see murder, murder, shooting, shooting, murder, 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 shooting, shooting, murder, murder, murder. How can somebody not be affected by that? And that's adults end, right? So you have safety, crime, crime, crime. And so you, before you even open your door, you think you're not going to make it back. That wears on you.
Yeah.
And you now convey that in your attitude and your approach where you suspect everybody and everything. And so that wears on you. And so we have a society that in a 60-minute newscast, only the last 5 minutes is the fireman getting the cat out the tree. Everything else is murder, rape, robbery, pillaging, da-da-da-da. So what I'm seeing, I said all of that to say what I'm seeing is the consistent bombardment of unhealthiness, the consistent bombardment of unhealthiness to everybody in the population. And if you have not come from an environment that says there's alternative news, then you take this as this is my norm, this is my everyday. How can it not deal with the psychic of people?
Gotcha.
I most definitely dig that, Mr. Wells. What I see is a lot of witnesses. And I'm always saying I don't like to be a witness to see anybody's pain, anybody's trauma. Like you literally see somebody going through something and nobody has that drive to help. So when we deal with adults or young folks, we don't have, I tell my students, we live in the era of no big homie.
Yeah.
Meaning like there's no dude on the block, no big homie in the family telling you, chill,
yeah.
doing too much,
Yeah.
you know? Bouncing off of what he said, this is everything they see on the media, the television, the cell phones, everything. And nobody is saying unplug from the matrix.
Yeah.
Get up, read a book, like read something that's healthy for you. You know, not only that is we live in a day and age right now to where it's hard to be vulnerable. And that's a lot of our guys.
Yeah.
You know, like we don't know how to be vulnerable in talking about mental health because we don't know if what we're sharing is going to be used against us. We don't know, like generally speaking, we don't know if what we're saying is going to make us seem soft.
Yeah.
You know, like we're a crybaby or we're a sucker, you know, and we be our worst enemies with that.
Yeah,
You know?
I totally agree with that. One thing I see, man, especially like when it comes down to therapy, a lot of people say, us, especially black men, we need to go seek therapy. We need to seek therapy. But, therapy is not cheap. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't know the research that go to therapy. Me, luckily, I've been going to therapy since 2013, but I was in the military, so it's free. I still to today it's free. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people, always pushing therapy, which is cool. I think you need somebody to talk to, especially not like every time you can't talk to a family member, you can't talk to a friend, you need to talk to an outside source. But, a lot of us don't have the resources for it. Sometimes you get insurance, you only get like 5 free sessions, and you need to like dig deeper than 5 sessions. So what do y'all say about that with the therapy and how it also seems like only black men should go to therapy? How y'all feel about that?
They're always pushing us to a therapist or a doctor or whatsoever instead of using the natural resources we have available even in our own home. You should be able to talk to a family member. You should be able to talk to a friend. Hell, we got strangers who drop knowledge on you right on the street if they seeing something that they don't like.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? But you hit the nail on the head right there. Is just finding somebody to talk to. It's hard to talk to anybody if you don't know how to make yourself vulnerable to talk to anybody. It's like, you know how they say we have strangers out there in the world that will support your business and big you up a whole lot better than a family member and a friend.
Yeah.
Those are the ones you need to seek out. Like, you really don't have nothing to lose expressing. It's not being told to them that once you get it out, it comes with some sign of relief.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as they get it out, you have people, media or whatsoever, will say something to a person who already have a conditioned mind, and they'll relapse. The second they get it out, they'll relapse right back into their depression. It's like a terrible circle. It's like an endless cycle right there.
My thoughts go along that line, differ just a tad, right? I too have been to therapy, and need it.
Yeah.
And need it. My thought is simply that part of the fact that it's unaffordable goes with healthcare in general in our community.
That's true.
Unaffordable. That to me comes also down to two things. The first being there has to be a demand from community that allocated monies go to mental health, because the way communities are set up, it's set up for us not to be healthy. Whether we're in food deserts, whether it's those issues of environmental traumas, it's set up for us not to be healthy. So part of the answer is that money be allocated so that be available. That's the first thing. The second thing is the information, not just the access, but the information. A lot of people, we hear it now. Yeah. And we do hear it now. We're hearing more about the need for therapy. But what does that look like for me? What does that look like from a cultural standpoint? And so we also have to hold, for me, Black therapists and clinicians accountable to give back in that aspect, in that way to community. We need you. We need you to come back. We need you to be able to show up, because the numbers say, not just that we need you. The reality of it is we'll never build the wellness in our community if those who can give us those resources aren't available. But then on the other side, to be able to start making sure that there's curriculum that will allow, if not having people to come back to do it, that we actually raise up the therapists and the clinicians that we need. I'm a firm believer it's just one man, one vote, but I'm a firm believer that everything we need is in community.
Yes.
And so if we would go in and dig in and be able to set and put people in position. I was talking to a young lady in school the other day that said, kind of amazed me though, because I met her on some adverse conditions because she was in trouble. But in digging in and talking to her, she said, I want to work with children with autism. Now that's not judging her, right? Yeah. But in conversation, I got to hear what she needed. And I'm like, okay, who's supporting that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's supporting that? If we heard that she wanted to do hair, she'd have plenty of advice, right? Cosmetology, and nothing against, because my daughter's in the field. Just saying, if we had heard that would have been a norm. Yeah. But to hear this young lady say, I want to work with children with autism, and she said this, and I can quote her. She said, because they are special to me. At that moment, okay, how do we now get you the support that you need? So in our community, when we got to be able to dig in and be able to support the growth and create our own therapists and opportunities for our people to be able to go into those fields.
Yeah, I think y'all kind of where I was going with my next question, because I know y'all guys big city slickers, and I'm a little country boy. But where I'm from, like, so the road I stayed on, it was nothing but family. You know what I'm saying? It was one situation where my cousin mama could give me a spanking. You know what I'm saying? My mom, would cook for the boys, on the street. So it was one of them community. And for the most part, I know people frown down on the church now, but, I was brought up in the church. So it really, like, the way I really was brought up was the whole phrase, it take a village. You know what I'm saying? You mess up. Like, sometimes, like, went back to our older cousins, like, they used to tell, like, yo, man, don't get with all these girls and stuff like that. Like, they used to, like, don't do what we were doing. And I feel like now, especially with us, we in the education field, we will, the kids of the community, it's not taking a village. It's like everybody is like right now, if I try to sit a kid to a side and like really scold them, like their parents will call, like, why you talking to my kid like that? You know what I'm saying? Or, the situation we had where they do, like, you're not my pops, what I'm saying? When you try to help them, you know what I'm saying? So where do y'all think we steered away from, like, everybody as a part of the village?
I would say everybody have different perspectives on whatever it is they understand. I'm still a firm believer. It takes a village to raise your child, but you got to know who's in your community. You got to know. I'm like, in my upbringing, my family knew everybody. We did the talent shows and dances and all that. Like, we really knew everybody in our building, on our block, in our community. And it depended on what kind of reputation you also had. Like, if you had a family full of churchgoers and you out here acting silly, those who respect the church-going family need to chill. Yeah, you got to chill out. You need to sit down. You understand what I'm saying? That's the era I come from. Now, in my opinion, a lot of parents are younger.
That's true.
Bernie Mac said it the best. We are not in the era of Big Mama.
Big Mama's missing.
We're really not. You know? And this is why I always say we out of the era of no big homie. You don't have nobody mature enough, experienced enough to tell anybody, don't matter what age it is now, today, but to chill. You know, the situation with yesterday, you're not my father. I've been saying this for the longest. Children tell the story of their home, and it takes a great experienced ear to hear it. You know, they're coming to schools, they come around their friends, and guess what they bringing? They trauma. They're bringing they drama. They bringing everything that they going through, you know, and something as, come here, let me talk to you. Trauma is you might want to do something to me. You know, we all had that parent or guardian say, come here, I ain't going to hit you. And then when you get to me, wow, you know, I hit you. All jokes aside, they could be going through something like that too, you know? So it's like, I tell everybody, if you're in this field, test energy. You know, don't be a witness. Your heart would tell you who to engage, how to engage them, you know, and stay consistent in that, because the world today, they need help. Like our youth, they really, really need help. I feel we need to remind them of the basics, if that may. I say all the things that you're doing now started with an idea. I'm always asking them about their phones, like the new iPhone. I don't know about all that stuff, but I always ask them, what's the primary function of having a phone? The answer you would get is to text. You understand? Like, to text. Not to communicate, not to call, but to text. So I'm like, all right, so if somebody send you a text right now on your phone with a LOL right in front of you, but you don't see them laughing out loud, how do you receive that as a laugh still? How? Like, you got to learn how to communicate. Also, I ask my students and my youth, if somebody send you a text message in all caps, do you feel like they yelling at you or what? So they like, yeah, man. Yeah, they yelling, they being disrespectful. I'm like, how? You basic stuff. You gotta know how to read. You gotta know what the text is showing you. But, you know, it goes back into what we see on the televisions and how the media condition your mind and keep you where they need to keep you, and there's no growth there.
It definitely takes a village. It definitely takes a village. For me, I'm a little older. For me, when we got off the detour from community, from family, one was the end of the Vietnam War. When our communities before was saturated with crack, it was saturated with heroin. And then it went to crack. And so then Nixon hit us with the war on crime. Then Reagan came in and hit us with the war on drugs, but all it really did was put black men in jail. And it's amazing how many black men are serving these long sentences where we have people now who are invested heavily in making millions of dollars with marijuana dispensaries. It's legal, you know what I'm saying? But we're not letting the guys out of prison. And so the criminal justice system became embedded in our community. So when you take, and it's not so much of a gender issue, it's a role issue. And when you take the men out of homes and out of relationships, you get a brother that comes out and has done all he needs to do and wants to get back with family, but because family's in Section 8, he can't be with his kids physically. But then it's promoted that there's no black men in the homes. Well, it's 3 sitting right here that are. But going back to what media portrays, and we've been conditioned to believe the crap that's been taught to us. So when we see, going back to answering your question, when we see the Huxtables, we're taught that that's fantasy. That can't happen. But when we see JJ and James struggling in the high rise in Chicago, we say we can identify with that. I couldn't identify with them.
No, me neither.
I could love them, but I can't identify with them. You know what I'm saying? But we're conditioned that way. And so now everything from our greatness to our beauty to our value, we've been told what that narrative is. We're told that our families are broken. We say that all the time. You can see the evidence where we work at.
Yeah.
We work around a lot of guys that have families that's strong, that's raising their children. We talk about it. But if you hear the narrative says ain't none.
Yeah.
And we believe that. So, well, Ricky, as you talk about or ask that question, where? This is a strategy that has hit us for quite a long time. And we're at the point now that, again, I go back to media, not blaming media for everything, but they can't throw the rock and hide their hands.
Yeah.
And there is a responsibility in community because, once you know better, you do better. But when we don't have that information and when we have a continued bombardment, I say it again, of information that comes to us, sooner or later, you're going to believe that stuff, especially if you see that more than you see the story. They don't see these stories.
No.
Or they see the stories, the part of the story when we was out there.
Yeah.
But this is to be continued. So you got to turn the page and see the rest of the story where we've built into healthy men, where we've built into community builders, where we've built into fatherhood. Those parts of the stories aren't told. So if we're not hearing that, then we're only believing the part that's coming at me all the time. So now what am I looking at? I'm looking for examples for me of what I value, but what I think success is. And if that definition is given to me and I'm not giving anything other than that to compare it to, I'm going to gravitate to that. And that's why it's so difficult to help people unlearn the stuff that's really damaging so we can help them learn those things that will bring wellness and to bring healing. So therein part is the issue with the family. I'm not staying nostalgic, but there are certain things that come with the village, like having dinner with your family. Mm-hmm. That might seem like a small thing, but when you have 5 people in the family and 5 people are eating in different places, right? At this time, that could be a time of nurturing, a time of checking in, a time of taking the temperature of family. Yeah. How do you know? Junior's upstairs eating his in the room. Me and Honey, we over here. The other kid, he got late basketball, so he gonna eat by himself. And so we start moving away from those things that really create village and create family, and we start calling it the norm and accepting it and not realizing the damage that's being done.
And as we talk about media, we also got to talk about, the social media presence of, the TikTok trends and Instagram trends. I have seen, and some of it kind of like disheartening to me and this is our generation, like, they talking about like the way like their parents, brought them up, but like the parents didn't bring them up bad. The parents were working with the tools that they had at the time, just like now we working with the tools that we got at the time. I seen we would talk about dinner where, at this videos, so like, our parents was forcing us to eat a food, you know what I'm saying? And I was looking like, but if that's all they could afford was pork chops and beans, and even though you didn't like pork chops and beans, like, don't nobody got time to be fixing 2 plates or don't have the money to fix 3 different meals. And, stuff might change now where you can, like my daughter, she don't like, my daughter don't like a lot of meals, but she'll eat. I could cook a full course meal and she want oodles and noodles. So, oodles and noodles, that's easy to throw to the side. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to cook pork chop, beans, biscuits, and rice, and you want steak. And that's not going to work. So I kind of blame some of the stuff on, I'm going to say my generation. I'm 39. You know what I'm saying? On my generation, because all of a sudden, we took a turn from what our parents were teaching. Not saying our parents taught us everything right, but they had to go with the tools that they had. And I think our generation, they said we the information generation. I think we got too much information. You could say quote unquote wokeness. And it's like we using our ideologies, if I said that right, and we turning it against what we was taught. You know what I'm saying? I think it's like, I don't think they know we doing that, but I think it's really going to turn around and like bite us in the butt.
I'm like, all right, so that's not necessarily a bad thing, in my opinion. You already said it. We can only provide what was given to us. Mm-hmm. Now, if it was fed to you when you was your daughter's age, and you didn't like it, guess what? you don't feed it to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bottom line, I also have a son who's the pickiest eater ever. I even lost my cool. Like, yo, dude, I make this whole meal. Want peanut butter and jelly or noodles. I'm like, feeling really disrespectful, but that's me fighting my own demons, my own trauma, because where I came up, I'm like, I didn't have that option to choose.
Yeah.
Like, my kids now have an option to choose, and that's new territory for me. Like, let me share something with y'all, and I laugh about this. So my daughter don't like wearing jeans, and my wife allows that. Like, so we ain't gonna get you no jeans or anything. So I looked at my wife like, she get to choose? Like, she's 10.
Yeah.
Like, she gets to choose? She was like, yeah, she don't like the way I feel or whatsoever. So I look at my daughter. I'm in my bag. Yo, you better always protect your mom, respect your mom. Like, I felt some type of way about that. Because in my era, I had to take whatever the hell was given to me.
Yeah.
Even if it was, all right, so he wore this Tuesday, we gonna wash it. Thursday, this is my shirt. You understand what I'm talking about? And those who negatively pay attention, they know we sharing it, but this is what I have access to.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm talking about? Now, the reason why I said it's not necessarily a bad thing, because that can be your own way of breaking the generational curse right there. There's a lot of stuff that happened to me in my upbringing that I can't even imagine to put my kids through. Like, when I teach my parenting classes, when I talk to dads who just get real hood with it, in my mind, I'm like, I don't see any reason why you can't be in your kid's life. I really don't. I don't care what your beef is with the mom. Kid ain't have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Kid ain't even asked to be here.
Yeah.
So when I see dads like really bashing their situation, me being an involved dad, I'm like, damn, like, my kids is cool as hell. It's fun. It's actually a blessing to wake up to them when in somewhere in the world somebody lost their parent. Life humbles you in the most craziest way.
That's true.
And the way how I take it, I try not to compare. Like, if whatever situation you in, I'm telling people, yo, turn that into gold.
Yeah.
Turn that into gold. Now, with today's youth, my experience living out here now, I would say everything is available. Where I'm from, there are some hardcore restrictions. Out here, so many things are available. But not only it's available, nobody is teaching our youth how to use these things. Like, we'll take driver's ed, for example. You're being taught to drive a car. Kids is already ready to get their permit, get their license to drive the car. But that's just a stunt. That's just sit back, pick up whoever they trying to lounge with, look good in the car. Suddenly, safety goes out the window. Suddenly, obeying the traffic laws and all that, it goes out the window. It starts to become something to do because it looked good, not because it's actually safe and convenient. So I stand where I stand. We live in the era of no big homer. We don't have nobody telling our youth to chill the hell out, sit down, learn something. It's so hard to talk to a typical teenager out here because they're bringing so much stuff and they're already conditioned. Like, whatever you're talking about has to help solve my problem. It has to help solve my problem. So let's say somebody's hungry. If you're talking to them, what's the expectation? You gonna feed me? You gonna give me something to eat? So a bag of chips and a bottle of water can go a long way here. Oh, you care. But now they don't know how to accept that. That's something they're going to take whatever they can take naturally. I know a lot of things when it comes to men. Generally, we do things naturally. We're learning how to nurture. That's why some dads is still trying to establish themselves as dads. Generally speaking, we know how to provide. We know how to keep the job. We know how to get the house. We ain't teaching nobody how to live in it.
Yeah.
Think about the arguments, yo. I brought the food. We ain't teaching nobody how to eat. It's like we know how to get things naturally done, but we got to learn how to nurture. That nurture kicks in with that quality time as a dad, that quality time as a husband, that quality time as a mentor. Like, you got to sit there and really dissect their problem and figure out the why. why they do the things they do. You can't help nobody if you don't know them. That's just the bottom line to it.
Yeah.
You got to know the why behind the what. I just want to chime in for, excuse me, just a second on this. There's a piece that I ask when I do my Monday stream. And I ask everybody, no matter what the topic of conversation is, and that is, are we defining community correctly? Because it's hard to impact something if you have the wrong definition of it.
Yeah.
And community has changed. Now, there are some staples that we know work, right? Because it just comes with the village. We know that there are certain things that not only work, but that help us sustain and move generationally, respecting elders. You know, there's just some things. But also, and I'm actually piggybacking on a thought that you had, James, and that is we don't look like we looked. And so we do have social media is here.
Yeah.
24-hour a day, 7-day-a-week news is here. There are other things. Industry is gone. Technology is the groove. It's where we are. And so how do we now stop telling our youth to put the phone down and teach them how to make money with it? Teach them how to be successful with it. Teach them how to navigate the world with it. How do we now teach them? You talked about nurturing. How do we now be able to demonstrate and to show our young men that even if you're not in the home, you can still love your child, right? As you pointed out. But one of the things that we have to do is make the decision that times are different and that they've changed. And at some point of time, we can't keep fighting to bring back the best of the old. We have to find a way to, and that's our due diligence, we have to find a way to integrate that which works with where we are right now. We truly have to understand where we are right now. I wish I would have had the option to say, Mom, I don't want to eat that. That's not really what I want. That's what you wanted. That's what you want me to have. But, and even as we take light of that, the reality of it is we've taught and we should teach our young people to have choices. You have choices. And part of the thing for us is to help them explore those choices. One of the things I find as a cultural, and this is my emphasis on this, a cultural dynamic is we often watch our white neighbors run through the stores and their children look like they're running amok. And we're like, see, now, if they was black, they would not be doing that. That is true. But also, there's another message there. We'd say, sit down, shut up. I told you in this store, you better not touch. Get over here. We're also telling them you can't explore your world. We're also telling them that this is the small part of your world that you must be contained in. And so we're watching these other culture be able to explore, sometimes without discipline. But they're also taught another message that all of this is yours and you can explore it. Those are messages that you get as a child. And so you feel as though as a black man or a black young woman, this is all I can do. Because I've been taught that. Shut up, sit down, get over here. Don't touch that. What did I tell you? Well, that comes from the time when we couldn't touch stuff because there was issues there. There were consequences. We're teaching our youth not to explore their world, not to take charge of the world. And yet we're holding responsibility for doing things that we're sending messages not to do. We've got to stop with the conflicting messages and realize that we are not just in a different era. There's been an evolution from who we used to be to who we are. Doesn't mean that we move away from those basics that keep us strong, keep us together. But we also have to realize with this, we are teaching. Our youth have so much more. So that means as parents, we've got to become more adapt to where our children are so that we can actually help them interpret this world that's coming at them like this all day, every day.
I'm sorry. First off, we got to update ourselves every day.
Every day.
We got to update ourselves every day. We got to teach our youth how to advocate for themselves. And that's actually bouncing off what he said. Coming from an era to where kids are meant to be seen, not be heard. Think about where we work. Everybody has something to say, but we shutting it down with our brand of discipline. Now, today's youth, when they hear discipline, they automatically feel cut off. They automatically may expect something physical may happen. Nah, discipline is supposed to teach people boundaries.
Restorative.
Like, everybody is just moving, it's just punitive. Nobody is making moves. They're not doing anything right. You understand what I'm saying? So how can we tell our youth, speak up for yourself, and when they do,
Shut up.
shut up. You mad disrespectful. You understand what I'm talking about? It's like a double-edged sword with them. Like I truly feel a lot of us adults are setting our youth up for failure. Like I will always tell our teenagers, yo, like really enjoy your youth. What are you rushing to get our age for? What'd you do this summer? Some of them in them communities in that area where they I ain't do nothing but just smoke and drink. To be a 14, 15, 16-year-old telling me you drinking Hennessy, hard liquor.
Harder than us.
The question mark is, yo, how bad is your life, dude? Like, yo, what are we doing? I was just chilling. And then after they told you the grown-up stuff they did, you hear the kid right behind it. Yo, I was drinking mad liquor and I was smoking, just playing 2K. Dude, you putting all that grown-up stuff in your body at this age. And the most you did to maintain your innocence as a kid was play 2K.
Yeah.
Like, yo, we doing bad. Yeah. we most definitely doing bad.
So before we get up out of here, and I thank y'all guys for coming. What are some things that we can change to help not only ourselves? I mean, the Muslim we want to mentor and advocate. You know, we also got to check ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like I know when I was head coach of football, I was all about making sure the kids get there. We coach and blah blah blah. But in the same, I was draining myself. I wasn't even paying attention to what I was doing. I was draining myself, like tired. You know, relationship falling apart because I'm so focused on making sure this football team get there. I want to make sure my kids, we want to make sure my boy out there. So before we get how can we balance of making sure we balance, you know, we mentor the youth or whoever, but also keep our own mental health and wellness in check too, for we can keep everything balanced?
I think, I'm going to jump in real quick. I think that first and foremost, this piece about self-care is real. Mm-hmm. I've got to love who I see in the mirror. Mm. And it's hard for me to be able to share that emphasis with somebody else if I'm not doing it. I really got to love what I see in the mirror, regardless of the situation, regardless of what I'm going through. I got to start with my strengths. I have to live strength-based versus deficit-based. On the flip side, with community, our youth, other adults, I got to see and hear people. And you hear me say that all the time. For me, one of the things I take away from just my understanding of who Christ is, he saw and he heard people. Yeah. Right? So all the other stuff is not that deep to me. It's being able to see and to hear people, not stepping over people, not ignoring people, just to be able to give somebody a kind, encouraging word, regardless of what I'm going through. I think that begins to shift the conversation. It begins to shift the attitude. It begins to shift the influence of wherever we are. If I could just be able to, look and love me, and then to be able to see people, to let them know I see you, I hear you. I might not be able to do a damn thing for you, but today, at least you know that somebody sees you and somebody hears you.
Word, man, that's what we doing.
I'm saying,
I gotta come on.
Hey, man.
Let me think. Now, don't be a witness to what you see out there. You know, one of my mentors told me, if you see a problem, fix it. You see a hole, fill it. You know, how can we help? I can't give what I don't have. I can't give you love if I don't have it for myself. I can't give you patience if I don't have it for myself. I can't listen to you if I'm not listening to myself. So you always got to check yourself before anything. Look in that mirror, like my brother said, and make sure you got it. Yeah. You know the tools is in us, but you got to make sure you have it. And once you check your list, go out there in the world. Do something not only you have passion in, do something you skilled in. Yeah. You know, it's like one of those each one, teach one things. You see these kids, you if your heart is in the right place, you can feel and see everything wrong with that child, you know, and automatically you would know how to engage, you know. So if you see somebody hurt, be that big homie. Be that big homie with your passion, with your skill set. Your experiences taught you to be the person you are today. And if you're that knowledgeable, if you're that passionate, if you're that skillful, the best thing we can do to our youth today is share it. Share what we know. Give what we know. Don't hold it. Like, you see somebody struggling and you're like, damn, you might need a hug. Maybe you need somebody to say, I love you. I love you. Do it.
Yeah.
Like, if you feel it, do it. I tell people, if your head thinks it, your heart feels it, your body's going to carry out the order. So go in sequence. Each and every time, go in sequence to help our youth today.
That's good, man. So, man, once again, I appreciate y'all brothers coming through.
My pleasure, brother.
Thanks
My
for
pleasure.
having us.
Appreciate
Man.
it coming through. We might gotta do a part 2 to this.
Definitely.
I think this is a good conversation. It's a conversation that needs to stay in our community. It just don't need to be a Facebook post. It don't just need to be a tweet.
Right.
And you really put your feet in. Let's really talk about it. You know, I definitely next time try to get like a lady in where we can get, you know, their point of view on, you know, black trauma from the lady side of things. But like, once again, I'm glad y'all came through. And we could do this some more, man.
I'm down, Holmes. I'm not even gonna make you feed me.
Right?
But once again, this is your boy Dela. This is In Depth, and we out of here.